I'm Chip Townsend, and this is the Team Chip Podcast. All right, guys, welcome back to the Team Chip Podcast. I'm here with the beautiful Glyn Ann Townsend, my other half, who keeps me in order and in line. How are you, ma'am?
I don't want to be responsible for that.
I know. That's why I'm so appreciative of you, because it took a very unique individual to take on this responsibility, right? That is you taking on this responsibility of keeping this on line.
Anyway.
All right.
We're just going to consider it
We digress.
Work in progress, right?
All right. All right. Today we're going to talk, guys, about teaching respect without maybe being too repetitive, without sounding repetitive, right? So respect.
It's like, I've told you this 1,000 times.
1,000 times. Seems like maybe she's said that before in our household around our children or something like that.
Yeah.
Well, here's the deal, guys. Respect. My first thought is, what is respect? Kids hear the word respect thousands of times, right?
Yeah. So let's define our terms.
Define our terms. What is respect? Biblical respect. And you know what? I like to lean into the biblical version of things because our foundation for our whole life, everything we do comes out of the Word of God, right? So
absolutely,
that's who we are, and we hope that we can help bring you along if you're not there, right? But biblical respect is choosing to honor God by treating every person with dignity, courtesy, and proper regard, regardless of how they treat you. Regardless of how they treat you, which can be very difficult at times. We're called to love our neighbor as we love ourselves, right? And that can be very challenging when your neighbor is not friendly. We'll just leave it there.
Yeah, and it's that, do you love your neighbor only if your neighbor thinks and does everything just like you?
Hey, there's room for everybody to be their own person, huh? Imagine that. Well, anyway, so respect. Honor, we use the word honor. Honor is commonly used in the Bible in a place where we might use the word respect these days, right? And, kind of carries this idea of valuing something deeply, esteeming something at a high level, treating something as precious. I know that seems like a stretch, but, whenever it feels odd when I say respect me, I don't ever want to demand respect. And I don't want you to think that we're saying that, people should value or esteem us at some high level or treat us as we're something special. That's not the point. But just generally, how do we teach kids respect, how to honor other people? And one thing I wanted to throw out here about this is we are unique beings in that we are the only being ever, angels included, ever to be created in the image of God.
Right.
Which is very special. So when you look at a child, you're looking at an image of God.
Right.
And, and we want that little image of God to be respectful, and we want to be respectful to that little image of God, right? So, how can we help them with that without just talking them to death, beating them over the head about it, things like that? So, anyway.
And so we're going to talk about it and we're going
to talk about it and beat somebody over the head about it, right? Well, here's the deal, okay? So respect is taught through consistency.
It really is. And I feel like we talk about consistency a lot, but,
it's one of our rallying cries. Consistency is key.
It really is. And, that's not a bad thing.
No.
Consistency is so incredibly important. And, as far as respect goes, it's that more is caught than taught.
Oh, I love that.
What are you modeling whenever you are, are you inspecting what you expect?
Oh my gosh, how powerful.
All of those little one-liners.
Yeah, it's like, I remember as a kid hearing, hey, don't smoke, it's bad for you. But then the person telling me that was smoking, don't drink because it's bad for you, And luckily for me, I had such an absolute despise for smoke, for lack of better words, that I couldn't touch it. I just can't stand it. I don't even like smoke flavored food, right? But the point is kids watch actions more than they pay attention to words.
Right.
They do what we do, not what we say. We know that. And respect grows when standards stay consistent. right? Now here we are again, back to consistency is key. And kids, man, I don't think we sometimes give kids enough credit for how intelligent they are.
Absolutely. You know,
They're
they may
sharp.
not be able to verbalize it, but they see inconsistencies. They see, you know, we've talked about it many, many times, but whenever it's they want to ask a question that they know is right on the line of what they're supposed to be doing, and you say, go ask your mom or go ask your dad, and they're like, yeah, actually, I'm not going to, because they know what is really what the expectation is. So yeah, don't think that you can just let something slide by and that they won't notice, because they will.
Absolutely. Well, you know, kids will notice. When I say kids are super sharp, they're going to notice when you say one thing here, but you allow something different over here. They're going to pick up on that, right?
Absolutely.
And they're always looking for those things. Like, interestingly, our daughter was sharing a little bit of a story about our 3-year-old granddaughter who knows several people, and one person approached and she asked this person, hey, do you have an X for me? Knowing that really wasn't probably almost like a toy. Like, you know, do you have a toy for me? And she knows not to ask those things. Even at 3, she knows, you know, she's almost 4. And, but it's kind of based on what people around you allow, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Like, but whenever, you know, she's around us or around other people, she doesn't ever ask those things. Like, my whole point is they're watching and they know. She asked that because that particular person has some behaviors that fed that, right?
Right.
And the point of it is, I know it's a little vague, but kids are sharp, man. They're so unbelievably sharp, and they're going to go to the weakest link in the chain. But this is back to, how do we teach kids respect without just talking them to death, wearing them out with words, and what are some actions and things that we can do? You know, constantly lecturing them, they tune you out over time, right?
Yeah.
They're not going to hear it. I think
Lecturing, nagging, you know, whenever you start doing the one finger talking like this, then you know you've crossed all of a sudden they're not listening to anything that you're
likely
saying.
not. And the other side of that coin, I think, is when the one finger comes out, are your emotions in check? Are you being emotional in this
100%.
moment? Or are you making having a good response for them instead of a knee-jerk reaction? Or do you need to maybe, you know, take a few minutes and chill out and move to the other room, think it through a little bit, and then come back and lay a consequence out when you're clear on that, right? But kids respond, I think, better to real active scenarios and situations. You know, how's it going to sound bad, but how often can we catch them in little moments and help make little adjustments with them? Like, hey, was that respectful the way you said that?
And I think that what you just said there is really so powerful. Instead of saying, you didn't respond correctly there, you were not respectful, you did a bad, you know, you saying, okay, was the way that you responded in that situation, whatever it was that respectful? And actually asking the question and putting it on them and making them think about it, because then they have to think about, okay, what does respect look like, instead of saying you weren't, you, because then you're
well, people get, you know, you come at them with an accusation or a statement like that, and it's like everybody, even kids,
you put
get
your
kind of
defenses
defensive.
up.
The defenses go up and the ears begin to close a little bit.
Absolutely.
And but I think you're right. You know, it's asking the question, you know, having them think through and review.
Right.
And man, how powerful is that to teach kids how to be thoughtful? Imagine that.
Yeah. And having a little bit of internal reflection, like, yeah, actually that wasn't, I didn't even really see, because sometimes they don't even see it. They're not, sometimes they are being defiant, but sometimes they really aren't. Sometimes it's just in that moment, you make a decision and you say something, and whenever somebody on the outside says, hey, was that really a respectful way to respond? Or how would you feel if, you know, I've had these exact conversations. If you, as an instructor, heard one of your students respond to a parent the way you just responded to me, would you be cool with that? And it's probably
Maybe
not. Yeah.
Right.
And so then it's a way to really make it convicting, but not condemning,
Right.
but also a way to make you realize that, you know, I'm wanting people to respect me, but am I being respectful? Not necessarily in turn, because it's not a transaction,
Right.
but am I actually doing what I'm expecting from other people, but I'm actually not doing it too.
Right.
So it's a way to, they check themselves, you check yourself.
Right. 100%. And a lot of these things come back to self-checks, right?
Right.
You know, one of the things that I do at our martial arts school a lot, and I think sometimes people aren't quite sure why I'm doing it or may have the wrong idea, but if a kid's coming out of class, I do this all the time, and most of the kids, even with nearly 500 kids coming through, you know, they know, when I say 500 kids, people, you know, coming out, they know, but hey, how was your class today? You know, little Bobby, and you know, or let me rephrase that. Hey, did you have a good class? Or did you have a great class today? And if every now and then I get the, yeah, yep, you know, one of those, and I immediately very kindly go, excuse me, sir? Oh, yes, sir. Yes, sir. You know, and I think that's a part of it. But what I wanted to say about that is sometimes I think the parents get it. We're trying to create the habit of respect.
Right.
Right. Not subservient respect.
Right.
I don't know if that makes sense, but I don't expect any adult or kid to be subservient to me, but some respect is nice. And obviously I will always, you know, want to give that back. Right. But we want to create the habit of respect with these kids. And so that's why with our curriculum solutions program, I have people send me videos of classes so I can kind of analyze and help them, like see maybe some holes in their mat vision and teaching tactics and the things they're doing on the mat to improve their schools. And you know, one of the things that I catch a lot is, you know, a lot of, yeah, no, and there's not a lot of respect on the mat sometimes.
Right.
And
it doesn't look, the way that I think about it is a martial arts class should have a completely different atmosphere than like a soccer field
or a PE
you
class.
know, or a PE class.
Absolutely.
But then the expectation is not that just stays right there. And I think that's something, yeah, it goes with them. And so that question as they're leaving is a really good way to, like, how was class? Oh, it was great, sir. Perfect. That's a beautiful response.
Well, you know, you said it needs to leave with them. And that's why I said a while ago too, we really want to teach the habit of respect.
Right.
Like, I say a grandma at the grocery store walks by your, 8-year-old and, hey, you're a sharp looking little guy. Are you having a good day? Yeah. That just, I can't stand that. But having the habit of when they hear those kinds of questions, those yes, no, yes, sir, yes, ma'am, or no, ma'am.
Well, I think the thing, a thing to consider, how do you spell yeah? How do you spell yup? Mm-hmm. Those aren't words. It's just actually say talk like a big boy.
So some of these folks may be listening, but I know some pretty high level professionals that I'll shoot a text back and forth with every now and then, and I get back yup and yeah as responses. I love them to death, but inside I'm like, come on, we're supposed to be modeling the correct behavior here. And even in your text, don't get lazy with it, right? Yep. So anyway.
And I just said, yep.
Yep. Yes, you did. Yes, ma'am, you did. And it doesn't have to be overbearing.
Yeah.
In a private conversation, you're in an intimate kind of situation, chit-chatting. Yeah, oh yeah, it was a great day. That's fun. But, yes. Publicly, you're in the group, and then it sounds like I'm telling you to have an integrity issue. I'm not, but... it's different whenever I'm home with my kids and we're at the end of the day and like, hey, was this okay today? Yeah, it was pretty good. I'm okay with that.
Right.
It's not, but most of the time, even at home, most of the time our kids say yes, sir, and no, sir, yes, ma'am, and no,
right.
ma'am. I mean, that's just part of our requirements. So sometimes as an instructor, there's another side of the coin. How are we speaking to even like the youngest students in the lobby, right? Mm-hmm. Like a little guy comes through and, hey, how, are you good today, sir? Yes, ma'am, I'm good today. How are you today? Constantly modeling that behavior. Just right. Back to constantly modeling behavior. And I know we've already really spoke directly to it, is creating the habit of respect. So these little guys are just in the habit of doing it. So I call students all the time, even adults. I have had a couple of days ago teaching a jiu-jitsu class, young man, close to 30, professional, asked him something. Yeah. And I kind of, sir. Oh, yes, sir. Have to remind people sometimes, but, and of course. I can't say it enough, not about subservience, just about creating the habit of respect. I just know that if I see a kid, and I've talked about this before, that hides behind mommy and, oh, it's so cute. No, it's not. Get them out, make them make eye contact, teach them how to be a little man or a little woman from the get-go, right?
Right.
Teach them respect from the get-go, right? And so anyway, how are you modeling that inside your school?
Well, and I don't know that we were necessarily going to go here, but something that, came to mind is teaching them to be respectful is it's also a show of confidence, because whenever you're getting to practice that, speaking up, saying, being respectful, but it's a practice in confidence. And then it's just kind of this, not a vicious cycle, but a vicious circle, but it's a continually moving circle.
Right. It's constantly changing. It's constantly moving. I absolutely get what you're talking about. And another thing that we're speaking into, if you're a martial arts school owner and instructor, is the culture of your school.
Right.
Is the culture a culture of respect, or is it just an average PE class culture? You know what I mean? I don't mean that to sound derogatory, but you go into a PE class and some of the kids participate, some don't. And whatever. And, is that the culture you have? Are you creating a culture? Respect needs to be built into our environments. The greetings the instructors throw, listening the first time whenever someone speaks to us, encouraging. We have this unwavering support concept that we push around the school a lot, where all the other students are kind of clapping for somebody as they finish up their last reps or whatever. Is there a culture, of respect? I'll tell you another thing that's super important is taking care of equipment. After class, do people help put things away, clean things, wipe the floors, sanitize? Of course, we're all more sensitive to sanitization after the COVID epidemic happening, but are we Lysoling the mitts out? Everybody's got their hands in it every so often and making sure things are clean and fresh. But
and it's just trickling down to that. One of the little sayings that we have is, we leave it better than we found it, and it's just. Understanding that there is somebody that's behind wherever it is that we go, somebody that's responsible for that, and they don't want to have to clean. Should they have to clean up after us? And that is just that is an outward showing, not just a saying, but showing of respect to others.
Absolutely. Well, when we boil it all down, it's about how do we teach kids respect. Probably the biggest way is modeling behavior. How are we modeling that in our business and our everyday activities? Another one, too, to watch out for is you're at the grocery store and you see the little guys you normally see on the mat walking by in the grocery store. How are you treating people? How are you acting? And are you also saying ma'am and sir to their mom and dad and things, as you go through that? But it's just so important that the culture of our school is, again, just a culture of respect all around. And, parents... I think sometimes parents glean from the sidelines, like, oh, okay, they pick up, we could improve this at home ourselves a little bit, right? And, whenever the parents pick up on it and we're delivering the same message, that's so helpful for us, but also helpful in the home. In other words, the parents come in and they see us saying sir and ma'am, and then they begin to kind of reinforce it at home. Man, that's powerful for these little guys.
Absolutely.
That's another way. We actually, we ask the parents, get on the same page with us on our expectations and the things that we do, because it's more powerful when we're all have a unified front whenever we're working with these little guys, as opposed to when you walk out of the building, oh, you can just say, yeah, if you want to. You don't have to say, sir. I've heard that stuff for years and it drives me crazy. Like, what are you teaching your kid to have multiple faces? That's not good, right?
Right.
That was deep. That was deep.
Oh gosh.
Anyway, mixed standards create confusion for the students. Just remember, instructors communicate up front and clearly what the expectations are. I think that matters in teaching respect. If they know that they're going to be expected to say sir and ma'am, and they know they're going to be expected to stand at attention and control their bodies, they know that, then later when you do make corrections, I think it's easier for them to receive. It's still hard. They don't like to be corrected, but they still receive it better because I knew I was supposed to do that, right?
Right.
It's kind of like that. If you come to me and tell me you're going to lose 10 pounds in the next 10 weeks, and I go, that's awesome. How can I help? And you go, well, nothing right now, but I'm going to get busy on it. And I go, cool. Can I bug you about it? I got your permission.
Right.
And if I have your permission and I can bug you about it, then it's a little harder for you to complain when I go, how's that going? And you're going, I fell off my diet 2 days ago. Hey,
it's okay. Just get back on.
It's okay. Let's get back on it. Respect too, it needs to feel real. Don't just fluff it. If a kid comes through your line doing a drill and you're just constantly, good job, like a robot, becomes fluff. They don't hear anything, right?
Right.
So respect needs to be authentic. It needs to be real, kind of like correction, that good job or whatever. It needs to be authentic and have some, that's why we say things like be specific. Hey, that was a good job because you yelled so good and you had your toes pointing great on that kick, right?
Right.
So be specific with what you're doing. So anyway, make respect part of your culture. Focus on the daily habits, not just giving speeches all the time, but what are the daily habits of the people that lead the culture?
Right.
Are they leading with respect? Correct with a lot of small behavior corrections. Don't make it one big adjustment at a time. You got 3 weeks, you're 3 months in with this group of kids and their respect has gone away. And all of a sudden one day you just attack the whole room over it. It's like a little adjustment every day. Model the behaviors you expect.
And then remember that those adjustments are not necessarily statements, but they're questions like, hey, was that? And get them to either,
help them
sometimes they even begrudgingly no. But that's okay. It's not going to always be, oh, you're absolutely right.
Absolutely. All right, guys. Well, the last thing I feel like I want to say about this is you might be wondering, why does this respect thing matter? We're back to honoring God and honoring people because we're made in God's image. And whenever I show you respect, even if you don't show me respect, I'm honoring God in a way. I'm honoring you because you, somewhere down the line, are my sibling. And we're related way back there, right? Way, way back there. And we should honor each other. We're called to do so, right?
Right. Absolutely.
All right, guys. I hope you guys enjoyed that. Maybe you got some nuggets for some actions you can take in your school. Just make sure you're kind of thinking through what's happening in your school and in your culture. And is it a culture that builds respect? And I guess one more thing. I love it whenever I meet people outside the martial arts school. Maybe I run into a school teacher, a principal, and they go, oh, you're Chip. Oh, you're Team Chip. And they start to connect the dots and they go, oh, I know little Bobby Jones. And I heard he's one of your students. Yes. And part of me kind of goes, uh-oh.
I hope this is good.
But I always love it. And we get a lot of this when they go, man, what a great, respectful kid. We love having him in our school. And I go, yeah. That's why that culture of respect matters, right?
It does. Yeah.
All right, guys. Like it, love it, share it, review it. Let us know what you'd like to hear. And we will see you. And by the way, thank you for being on here with me today.
Absolutely.
Although I hogged a lot today.
No, you're good.
You guys have a great day and give us a good review. Thank you. Thank you for tuning into the Team Chip Podcast. If you enjoyed today's episode, don't forget, subscribe, share, and or leave a review because we need you. We appreciate you so much. And without you, we can't make this happen. Remember, consistency is the key to success. So go out there and never be outworked.